It's the final day of the World Blitz Chess Championship and it's kicking off. We're going to look in this video at how we got here, the game of the day that set up the drama, and then what happened plus my thoughts. Now this is Magnus Carlsen playing with the white pieces. His opponent is Jan Nepomniachtchi. They're playing in the final of the World Blitz because they both made it through the knockout stages. I covered Magnus's game against Hans Niemann yesterday. Explosive. I'll link it at the end. And Nepo's on the back foot here because Magnus has won 2, Nepo's won 1, so Magnus just needs to draw this game to progress. Nepo in a must-win, right, but with the black pieces. They're over the board in New York, fast time control, they get a couple seconds back per move. That's called increment. Let's dive in on the chess here, then we're going to have a look at the absolute drama, and don't forget, Magnus already pulled out of this thing, then re-entered, all to do with the dress code, now known as Jeansgate. He loves his pair of denims, but now we're looking at some chess. So what do we see from Magnus? E4, I dare you Jan, play a Russian, I'm just going to shut down the game. Of course Jan doesn't do that, he plays Le Francais variation, he's got to imbalance the game. So Magnus takes the centre, D5's the standard for the high five, knight C3, the classical variation selected, Magnus goes for the advance, never understood why it's called that, and now I love this, he plays one of the trickiest knight C to E2. You lull your opponent into a false sense of security, right? Act like you forgot which way the pieces move, but this is the point. After the C pawn advances, you set up the overpowered connect 4, and here's the awesome thing about this. Normally this unlocks you something nice like dinner for 2 with Danny, maybe a cinema voucher with Hans Niemann, but not today. Magnus unlocks tournament director status. Bro entered as a player, he's leaving as the chief arbiter. We now see knight developing to c6, Magnus takes control of b4 here, and Jan expands. I went a bit Bob Ross on the board here to show the themes. Black's going to play on the queen side, white's going to play on the king side here. We've got a battle. Knight f3 from Magnus, a4 played, and h4, castle king side. I dare you Jan, I'm going to try and kill you there. Jan spins the knight around, Magnus heads his one towards f4, and now knight a5, given the mistake, you know, some kind of development preferred, but this is blitz chess, we're not going to get too hung up. Of course, these light squares are tender, Jan looks at them, Magnus goes rook b1, anticipating the jump, not best, but whatever. We get bishop d7, this one develops also, h6, tidy move, sometimes white wants to use this square to attack, and after castles, queen c7, the rook develops into the game and Jan charges forth. He doesn't do any whinnying or neighing with that knight though. They're in serious game mode here, and apparently just tucking back with the bishop is best. It's a general theme here. You can kind of just wait on the position with white. You occupy the center in a really nice way. But Magnus sidelines the knight, targets the pawn there, castling now best, but Jan goes bishop b5, and there's a specific reason why it's not so great, and it starts with this move, takes on c5, because whichever piece takes, you've now sorted out the d4 square to land a pony, hit the bishop, and you don't want to give that one up. It's a strong piece, especially defensively in many lines. So Jan drops back here, now Magnus brings the queen out aggressively, he's sitting pretty, but after castle's queenside, the game's getting sharper than he would have liked when you just need a draw, because the top engine move here is taking on g7. That's how you get Stocktopus purring, but it looks so dangerous. You know, you walking into this pin right, well the follow-up move is simply bishop takes, fearless, and although you can never really move your pieces, you're in a bit of an eternal pin there, not so easy to run the pawn. Well, white just sits better apparently. It is good, there are ways to unravel, but okay, not easy to play that in blitz. So Magnus doesn't take the pawn, he instead plays the queen to f4, hits on f7, excuse me, and now after queen e7 played to cover that pawn, the order of the day here is just sitting solid on the position. You know, queen g3 is good, then bishop f4, maybe you do something with the king. There's all these waiting moves that white can do and just say, look, you do something black, prove yourself, and then you start counter punching. But Magnus goes for the very direct, pawn b3 looks really natural, but given the question mark, as you can see, because suddenly, although he gets an open b file here, Jan cementos everything. He's gotten rid of this knight, which was kind of fighting for the same square, and he's got some attacking plans of his own. Bishop e3 played, and bam, g5. Andreas starts spinning the beats. We love it, and you cannot take this pawn. Not only do you open the h file, but now your knight's hanging and your queen's hanging, right? No good. If you cover like this, what happens? Okay, knight e5, double whammy, you're getting absolutely killed. So you can't touch the pawn. Instead, the queen centralizes. Really nice move, because now you're about to attack, but Jan takes on h4, and he's opened the g file for his own charge on the white king. So knight f6 is played. Great move, of course. You cover this square, looks awesome. Therefore, Jan fights against that one, and after Magnus simply doubles the rooks here, you know, he hasn't got so much better. We see the bishop chop off that monster, pawn recaptures, and queen c7, and suddenly e5's on the way. The rooks are coming to the g file. I mean, this is incredibly dangerous. Good luck going g3, of course. What a nuts game. And Magnus in this position blunders, but it's very tricky. Now, the best move is the completely outlandish bishop f4. Looks impossible, of course, because e5 comes. Are you not just simply losing a piece? Well, yes, but to do so, white gets a queen invasion, then the bishop drops, but you've opened up this monster diagonal. Now, if you block with the bishop, white can actually crash through. It's mate in 3. You know, here's a sample line. That's checkmate. What else are you going to do? That's checkmate. All roads lead to New York. That is just a dead game. So you cannot, in this position, block with the bishop. You can block with the rook, but then you can get a line like this. You hoover the material off the board. If bishop takes, you crash through and you actually win a rook. If you don't take, best move is king c7, then something like this. Still white's doing well, exchange ahead, etc, etc. So coming all the way back here, this was the order of the day. Yes, you run into this, but you get the invasion. I'm simply dropping back because black doesn't have to take though. Best is b6. Apparently it's still a level position, but that's what Magnus wants. Make some kind of draw. Crazy wild lines, but Magnus misses bishop f4. He plays the immediate queen a7, but you can see it's given the mistake because now Jan simply ignores any of Magnus's ideas and plays rook h to g8, going for his own attack. And what to do? How do you throw more fuel on the fire? You know, you're going to run the a pawn, way too slow, of course. Are you going to, what, crash through? Well, no, it doesn't work. Bishop recaptures. You haven't got enough attacking forces. What are you doing here? No chance. Block. You know, it's just not working. So we run back. You have to do something. That's why Magnus tries this bishop f4 now. But as you can see, huge mistake here. Stock squid poops its pants. Black's completely winning because this time you don't have to go e5. You can simply take that bishop. And yes, Magnus can now crash through, but things are a bit different. He goes smack bang wallop here, and this is his point. If bishop takes, well, that's simply checkmate in 1. You distracted the queen, but you do not have to take that rook. Let's come back to the game continuation here. Leave the back cave. What do you think Jan played here to just end Magnus in 2 moves? You guessed it, the awesome rook sacrifice on g2, and it's deadly. Now, Magnus took the rook. If you step to the corner, that's a checkmate. If you step this way, you can actually crash through. Not a checkmate. Don't forget about this one, but with the distraction, you now get to pick up the rook here, and you've got 2 minor pieces for a rook, or let's say that a different way, you're an entire knight ahead. Black is just completely winning, plus you've got a couple of pawns. No good. So the king had to take. This is what Magnus did, but now there's an awesome follow-up shot. Move of the day, right? One of the moves of the tournament. What does Jan do? He plays knight e3 check. I mean, that is awesome. Now let's look at the lines here. What if you take that one? First question, you know, the pawn can capture. You shouldn't be allowed to access that square. Well, there's simple ways to checkmate. The one I like the most is simply rook g8. Now these ones are blasting, of course. So what to do? You have to step to the H file. Go this way, get checkmated. Go this way, illegal. Go this way to the corner, get checkmated like this. Of course, you could use the bishop. You don't even need to use the bishop. Just use the queen and rook. So these are the points. You just can't take that knight with the pawn. The rook's on the way. What if queen takes? Same problems, but this time using the bishop. D4 check, opens everything up. King goes, queen drops. And okay, you're not long for this world. Here's a sample line. Black is killing it, about to checkmate very soon. So these are all the problems. Knight untouchable with pawn or queen, and if you sidestep, once again there's all these kind of mate themes. This time you can use the knight. Here are some sample lines where to go. You get checkmated everywhere. It's just no good. So Magnus resigns the game, right? They then go to this tiebreak format, but the tiebreak format is such that they just keep playing and playing and playing, a la Kasparov-Karpov back in the 80s, right? They switch colors each time. Long story short, they make 3 draws, and then Magnus does this, leans into Jan, and he's like, do you want to basically split the championship with me here? Now, you can't hear that on mic to start with. They go behind the scenes. They have a chit chat. Then they sign some paper. They come out. They've agreed to be split co-world champions. Now, what's my first reaction to this? Absolutely insane, farcical, right? I mean, let's talk about something here. If something smells like cheese, looks like cheese, feels like cheese, it's probably cheese. And it's the same in this situation, right? If it smells a bit wrong, looks a bit wrong, feels a bit wrong, it's probably a bit wrong. And that's essentially what's going on here. This just doesn't sit right with anyone. You know, rewriting the rules on the fly. I know Magnus made the Connect 4 earlier, so he gets to be tournament director. Those were the rules, right? But this is taking it a step too far, even for him. Of course, it's coming off the back of the whole jeans debacle, jeans gate, everything like that. So this is absolutely nuts. Jan, of course, agrees to it. Magnus was about to have a white. He's playing the GOAT of chess of all time. Why are you not going to? But yeah, this is nuts. I think the arbiter should have said, no, you keep playing, lads. You keep going. We want at least 10 games out of you. Someone's going to crack, right? This is Blitz chess at the end of the day. And we did also have this clip here.
I think like they refuse, we can just make sure.
Whereas you can hear from that, Magnus is saying, well, if you force us to keep playing, we'll just make draws. You know, he said that to Jan, but I mean, that is very smelly in and of itself, right? That's match fixing on a spot, isn't it? In, you know, hook, line and sinker, you're not supposed to say, hey, let's just keep making endless draws if they force us to play. You know, we had the Nepo Dubov scandal, what, last year? They made their crazy dance of the knights. This whole thing is very, very smelly. Not happy on my end. I don't think this should have been allowed to stand. Magnus should have been told, no, both players, you continue playing. Them's the rules. If you want to look at the tiebreak next year, we'll look at it. That's my hot take on it. My take. What do you think? Of course, let me know in the comments. Anyway, thanks for sticking with the video. Happy New Year to you all. Thanks a lot for supporting the channel. Do subscribe if you haven't yet done so, and have a look at the video on screen for the epic Magnus hands match that we've been waiting 2.5 years for. Thanks a lot, and see you soon. Cheers.